Winning isn't everything. It is the only thing. So said Vince Lombardi, coach of the Green Bay Packers, winner of the first two Super Bowls. And this weekend, the Patriots and the Seahawks will be playing for the trophy named after Mr. Lombardi. Welcome everyone to our Super Bowl special here on Oddballs. We're going to go through the history of the Super Bowl, maybe a brief introduction into how American football itself works, and learn some interesting things, I think.
Sign me up, Joe. I don't know much about American football, I won't lie. I tried to play Madden a few times on PlayStation / Xbox, and it seems near on impossible if you don't really know the game.
Well, so interesting you mentioned Madden. Do you know who Madden is?
No.
He is a commentator, John Madden, and sort of pundit, yeah.
How did the game come to be named after him?
He's just essentially so iconic in the world of American football that's
what they decided.
They call it Madden.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know too much about American football.
So I think,
but obviously know what the Super Bowl is.
Yeah, I think
watched highlights every so often for it, but watch the halftime shows; those always pop up.
I think it's a good place to start. Is maybe a little bit of a 5-minute introduction into football itself. Obviously, the Super Bowl is essentially the final of the American football season, the professional American football season, NFL. We mentioned in a previous episode about Aussie rules that some people call the sport Aussie rules AFL, and that is not as frowned upon as people calling the sport of American football NFL, because NFL is the league, the National Football League. It's not the name of the sport.
Right.
But some people do call the sport NFL, which is incorrect.
Who does?
Blackguards and fools.
Non-Americans.
Non-Americans mostly.
Okay,
yeah.
Americans would refer to it as just as football.
Just as football, yeah. So we would refer to it as American football because obviously we've got association football, just soccer, Gaelic football, Aussie rules football, rugby football. Some people call football. So lots of different types of football. Another interesting fact before we even get started on American football, as in soccer, is so named because it was played on foot as opposed to on horseback, like other sports were.
Nothing to do with kicking a ball.
No. So American football being called football is actually as valid. It doesn't have to be kicked nor a ball.
Okay, so that age-old argument between football fans and soccer fans, where they say, it's a stupid name for American football because you don't even kick it.
Yeah.
Or it's primarily not kicked.
That it's an invalid argument.
Well, it's misunderstanding the roots of the names.
That is true. Anyway, so let's get on to American football. It's similar-ish, obviously, to rugby in that it's a contact sport. We have teams of 11 rather than 15, obviously, in rugby. And the aim of the game is to score more points than the opposition, like many sports.
So that sounds familiar.
Yeah, very, very common way to decide a match. So important to note is that one of the big differences between American football and rugby, and maybe most sports that we know, is that they're rolling substitutions basically, and that's enabled teams to have specialist attack or offense, as they call it in America, and defensive teams, and even more so, they've got something called special teams, which are for essentially for kicks, so conversions, or punts, and then the defense of those two things. So that would be like punt returns, etc. So three main ways you can score points in American football. One is to kick, which is a field goal. It could also be a drop goal, like in rugby. We drop the ball before you kick it, but these
balls don't bounce well.
They don't bounce well, and it's just more difficult than a place kick. So it used to be popular when people found it easier, and then I think everyone's basically just found place kicking easier. So that's typically worth 3 points. If you go for a kick at goal. Then a touchdown, similar to a try, obviously, which is you need to carry the ball into the opposition's end zone, is worth 6 points. After a touchdown, you have what's called a point after attempt, which is just a kick from basically very close. I don't know exactly how far away it is, but you basically shouldn't miss it. And that's worth 1 point. You can try to score, it's called a 2-point attempt, a 2-point after attempt, which is basically you have to score another touchdown from that position. And that would be worth 2 points.
I think it's from the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is these extra 1 and 2 points. This is what we would regard as like a conversion in rugby.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get an attempt to either get a 1 point or a 2 point conversion at your choice. And what little I know about it is that the 1 point is a much more of a sure thing.
Yeah, I would say your expected value from a 1 point attempt is higher than from a 2 point attempt. Why you would take the 2 point attempt is if you are
7 points down in a game.
Or 8 points down in the game.
And you want to tie it.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're 7 points down, you probably go for the 1 point because they play extra time. It's called overtime in American sport. And that is pretty much first point wins. It's not quite. If you start extra time with the ball and score a field goal, a 3-pointer, the opposition team has an opportunity.
Like a right of return.
Exactly.
So everyone has to have at least one possession.
Yes.
But if you fail in overtime to use your first possession to score, and then it changes hands, then whoever scores next
exactly
will be the winner.
Although if it's the first team and they score a touchdown, that is also game over. So they only have a right of return on a kick.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. A field goal.
A field goal, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are 3 ways to score.
Those are 3 ways to score. There's a safety as well, which it's pretty rare, and I think for the basics we don't really need to go into it. It's worth 2 points. It's essentially if you are able to tackle a player back into their own end zone. End zone. Yeah.
Then force a player to score at into their own touchdown area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure they need to have been outside of their touchdown area at some point as well. If they receive it inside the end zone, let's say an interception, and are tackled there, it's not a safety. But if they run it out and then come back in, it would be a safety.
Am I right in saying that safeties are most often scored when the team with the ball, who goes back into their own end zone, almost willingly does it? It's like a time wasting mechanism.
Yeah, I don't.
If you're like 9 points or 10 points ahead in the game, and you'd rather run the clock down and concede a safety.
So I think there are sort of tactical reasons why you would concede a safety, but I think they're also just circumstantial.
It does happen. Yeah. Actually. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and then there's a really weird loophole basically where you could score where there's a 1 point safety. Safeties are typically worth 2. There are instances where you can get 1 point safeties. I'm not necessarily 100% sure on when that happens, but that is pretty high grade stuff. Anyway,
the American football police can come after us if they like.
So in general play, so I said it's a little bit like rugby. In this sense, it's quite a lot like rugby league. You have got 4 opportunities or downs to advance the ball 10 yards before the ball's turned over. If you don't get it to past the 10 yards and you're 4 downs, then it's a turnover. The opposition get the ball. And basically you have 3 options on a down. You can either run it, so run it into contact, sort of like a crash ball, pass it, where you'll see obviously a quarterback pass the ball to someone, and then kicking it. Kicking it probably would be the rarest of the 3. Typically would only happen on a 4th down. And that is either a field goal attempt, or if you're not close enough to have a field goal attempt, you could punt it, which is
just to gain some territory.
Exactly. And also potentially kill a little bit of time if that's the sort of circumstance of the match.
Okay.
Yeah. So runs are more secure, but less explosive. Obviously, it's more difficult to get a 40-yard return on a run. Throws a little bit riskier, but easier to. I mean, you're more likely to get a first down, which is if you reach those 10 yards. They would then reset to be first down. Wherever you are, you play again until you reach the 4th down, if you do.
Okay. And that's the terminology in the game when you're watching it, when it says like 8 and 3rd.
So it would be 3rd and 8.
3rd and 8.
Yeah,
so it's your 3rd attempt at getting the down, and you have 8 yards to go.
Left, yeah. So it will always start on 1st and 10, unless there's a penalty being applied. Sometimes it could be like 1st and 5 or 1st and 15, whatever.
Yeah.
And then obviously if you make any yards, it could be 2nd and 8. And then 3rd
but
and 6.
You may also lose yards. If you go backwards or your QB gets sacked or whatever, it's going to be 2nd and 20.
Exactly.
Or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
And then you're probably going to go for another pass if you don't make it. 3rd and...
Because that's what kind of always one thing that confused me. Whenever I said the first down, 2nd down, 3rd down, I always thought there was a limit to the number of downs, just a hard limit.
Yeah.
Like you have 6 plays to try to score a touchdown, and then that's that. But basically, once you've made the downs, or I don't know if that's the right phrase, but once you get past the 10 yards, you reset, you go to 1st and 10 again. And then, so you might have a few 1st and 10s. And then what do they call it? What will they say? Will they ever say how many kind of times you've got to 1st and 10?
They were just called, that's called a, it's called a drive. The like continuous, all of your possessions. Yeah. Well, the time I have.
So they might say it's like a 60-yard drive.
Yes.
And you've been progressing slowly over a few attempts.
Yes. And then one of the more interesting other things that I have only really learned about recently is the sort of clock management. So if you have an incompleted play, so that's typically would be a pass that's not caught, then the clock will stop. If it's a completed play, so that's either a catch that is caught and then you tackled, or a run that is tackled, then the clock will continue running while in between the plays, basically. So there is also a play clock that will reset to whatever it is. I think it's usually 40 seconds. I think there's certain circumstances where it's slightly different, but let's assume it's normally 40 seconds. And so the game clock, which is counting down from 15 minutes, you have 15 minutes per quarter. It continues counting down during that play clock.
Okay.
And so that is, certain teams will use that to tactical advantage or disadvantage, depending on where they are in the match. If you want to run out time, if you want to stop the clock. Also, if you run out of bounds, then the clock will stop. So typically when teams are chasing a game, you'll see them throw to the corners of the pitch and then have their receivers run out. And similarly, if you have a run, sometimes a quarterback will sort of be looking to pass and then run by themselves, and often they'll run out of bounds. And that's to stop the clock and also to make sure that they don't get smashed by a 150 kg defender.
Yeah. I always kind of understood that was the primary purpose.
Yeah.
To prevent a tackle, a hit on themselves.
No, it is.
You realize you're not going to make much more ground, so you just rather run it out rather than taking a hit and hitting the ground.
Yeah. But also, stopping the clock, particularly later on in the game, is really important.
Okay.
And then, there are things called 2-minute warnings at the end of the second and fourth quarter, which is essentially just like a timeout. And again, so coaches can call timeouts to stop the clock. The 2-minute warning is almost just like a timeout that is there all the time. No one has to call it. Yeah.
Okay.
If you, let's say you took the snap just before 2 minutes, like 2 minutes 01, and then played for however long, 10 seconds, then obviously the 2-minute warning break would only be at 1:51.
What advantage would that give a team? Why do they have that?
The 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
There's certain rule changes after the 2-minute warning, so there are no ad breaks, unless a timeout is called.
Okay.
But there's certain types of timeouts that you can't get like an injury timeout after that, unless it's a very severe injury. And
okay, so they have to define that point in each quarter.
Yes.
Where the rules, what you can and can't do, shift slightly.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think there are also certain things about, like, basically they stop a little bit of time wasting after that point.
And I guess having a timeout there makes it a clearly defined thing, so that everybody on both sides knows, okay, now we're in that next little in the 2-minute period. And
you can schedule ads for a 2-minute warning. You know it's a timeout that's going to happen.
That's probably why it exists.
It probably is. Okay, so let's get into the history of the Super Bowl now. And actually a little bit of prehistory here. So we're going to start
so this will be from like
before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I mean, like what, the Ice Age?
Like 4000 BC, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
there was an inflated pig's bladder.
No, so we're going to start in 1920. So obviously just after the First World War. Football's growing in popularity. Obviously the big sport in America at the time is baseball. Mm-hmm. And there's sort of these professional teams start getting going. These professional football teams, and start playing, sort of going on tours. Eventually, someone comes up with an idea for a league. And essentially it was based on Major League Baseball, which is the Professional Baseball League. And a lot of the teams actually played under the names of the baseball team from that city.
Okay. So that was just the sports organization.
Yeah.
That happened in football in the UK as well. There were clubs that would be cricket and rugby clubs, or rugby football clubs.
Yeah.
Rugby and football clubs, sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, it obviously worked out as well because baseball and football still to this day are played at different times of the year.
Yeah,
pretty much the baseball season ends and football picks up. There's probably a small overlap. The baseball World Series was in November this year, and the football season started probably September-ish.
Well, that's kind of like AFL and cricket in Oz, like we spoke about previously. Like that was a way of the cricketers to keep fit in the off season.
And association football, soccer, football was also cricketers staying fit.
Cricket, yeah.
Anyway, so the NFL was founded in 1920, and a lot of teams there's no team that started in 1920 that is still going. The Green Bay Packers are the longest running organization, and they started in 1921. They joined the NFL in 1921.
Okay.
Sorry. They existed before that, but they weren't part of the NFL in 1920. And then the Chicago Bears also were kind of under different names, existed around then.
But there's been continuity.
There's been some continuity, but not a huge amount. Anyway, in 1933, a few new teams joined the NFL, and they split it into two divisions, the East Division and the West Division. And then they had an NFL championship game. So the winner of the East Division and the winner of the West Division played for the right to be the NFL champions. So previous to that, it was pretty much a league system, and just the team with the best record at the end of the season would win.
Like we know from the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Most points at the end of the season wins.
Yeah, exactly that.
There's no playoffs.
Yeah, no playoffs until 1933, when we create more teams create a Western Division, Eastern Division, then we have a final. Now, move forward a couple of decades, 1960, the game is getting very popular. And it's almost getting up to like parity with baseball levels. It's getting more popular as well than the college game, which had always been the main event in the US until this point. Anyway, a group of investors want to buy an NFL team or start a new NFL team, and they were kind of resisted by the NFL. They decided to open up their own league called the AFL, the American Football League. And this had happened a few times before. There'd been competitor leagues to the NFL, none of them very successful.
Professional American football leagues.
Exactly.
They were popping up,
Yeah.
but didn't really weather the storm.
No. The AFL was different, though. The American Football League became very popular and started competing mostly for players, was the big concern that the NFL had.
Okay.
So some of the best college players ended up going into the AFL rather than the NFL. Mm-hmm. And also broadcast rights, etc., public attention, all of that stuff they were competing for. In 1966, the leagues had, the owners of the NFL said, listen, this is hurting us too much. We need to have some sort of peace deal with the AFL. We need to merge the leagues. They agreed to do it, hold a joint draft, and they decide that the winners of each league will play each other in a game called the World Championship Match, which we now know by the name Super Bowl, which was originally just a sort of joke term by the media. Eventually, by Super Bowl III, it was kind of officially.
That's when it
embraced.
It was embraced.
Yeah.
By the organization as being a thing called the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. And this idea of a bowl that comes from there were loads of other big playoff games or one-off events, right? Like the Rose Bowl and
the Rose Bowl.
These are all college games.
Yeah.
So am I right in saying that a bowl at that point was a well-known term for a big kind of American football event?
Yeah.
A one-off match.
Yeah. The Pro Bowl. There was a Pro Bowl. I think there is a Pro Bowl to this day. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, Rose Bowl is a famous one as well.
I think
that's college.
The Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
There's a few. Sun Bowl is one, I think. Anyway,
yeah,
there are a few bowls, and I think the word bowl came from the shape of the stadiums initially.
That makes sense, but I'm not 100% sure if that's true. Okay. I'll take your word for it.
That's never a good thing.
The NFL also was slightly larger than the AFL at the time.
Okay.
So a few teams shifted over into the AFL from the NFL.
Is that when they merged and formed the two conferences?
Yes. So now they're called the AFC and the NFC, the National Football Conference and the American Football Conference.
So each league just lost the L.
Yes.
The league part of the acronym, and then adopted C for the conferences.
Yes.
All under the. But it was the league at this point. It wasn't one overarching league.
It was then now one overarching league called the National Football League.
Called the NFL. Okay.
Yeah. So the NFL kind of absorbed the AFL and then named the conferences after the National Football League.
I got you.
And the American Football League.
Okay.
So now obviously conferences. And continued to have this tournament this bowl, this final between the winners of the AFC and the NFC. Within those conferences, they had their own kind of makeups, East and West divisions at first. Today, there are 4 divisions in each conference. So there's a North, South, East, and West in each division. And there are 32 teams split into 2 conferences, into 4 divisions within that.
4 pools.
4 pools, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as we would call it. And 4 teams in each pool, in each division.
Okay. Are those North, South, East, West, are those actually geographically relevant?
They are pretty geographically relevant. There are teams in, let's say, the Eastern Conference that are further north than some of the teams in the Northern Conference.
Okay.
It's not the 4 most northern, but they are the closest ones. They're kind of grouped pretty sensibly.
And it's not like, and both conferences will have teams kind of all over the country, right?
Yes.
It's not split on like the East.
No.
The East Coast and part of the inland is the AFC and the other side is the NFC. No. That's all over the country.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's been no geographic organization across the conferences.
No, not
within
between
the conferences. There is an element of it, but it's not hard and fast.
Exactly.
Okay.
And yeah, when new teams come in or teams move location, they kind of do a bit of a reshuffle sometimes. That's quite popular in American sports in general, particularly coming from a European sports perspective.
Do teams ever change conferences?
No, I don't think they've ever changed conferences.
Okay.
They would change divisions within the conference.
And would there be so the teams that were, let's say, the founding members of the NFL, so when the AFL and the NFL combined, and they were seeded into the AFC and the NFC.
Some of them
jumped
changed,
across,
yeah.
But since then, those teams would have remained in those same conferences.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
Anyway,
but that would give rise. It's not like it's being reshuffled every year, or those are kind of fixed groups, and then the divisions would stay fairly consistent as well. So within your divisions and your conference, you probably have more frequent like matchups and rivalries, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And so they've built up these rivalries over the years.
Because of the teams you presumably play more.
You play more often. So you play them twice. You play them home and away each year. So
everyone in your conference.
Everyone in your division.
Okay.
And then, so those are 6 of the games you play. And then you've got 4 teams. So you play the 4 teams from from one division that's in your conference. So if you are, let's say you are from AFC North.
North.
AFC North will play one of AFC East, West, or South.
Every team there.
Every team there, yeah. And sort of 2 at home, 2 away. And then also play all 4 teams from one of the other conferences leagues.
Oh, so you don't necessarily play everyone in your conference?
No.
You're only guaranteed to play the people in your pool.
Yeah.
And all the teams from one other pool in your conference. Yeah. And then one pool or division in the other conference.
Yes.
Okay. And so that's how they change the roster every year, presumably.
Yeah.
East plays West this year, and then next year East plays North, and then East plays South.
Yeah.
So you do get some kind of variable. And then at the same time, you're running through a cycle of 4 on the other sides. Yeah. So that also changes it up.
So every 12 years, you'll have the same cycle.
Okay.
So you'll play, let's say, East against East from the other side, and then East against North. So because of 4 and 3, they'll rotate a bit. Your final 3 games are dictated by pretty much, which is quite interesting and sort of a recurring principle in the NFL, is this sort of principle of equality. So it means that teams with a stronger record from the previous year will play teams with a stronger record from the previous year. And teams with a weaker record will play teams with a weaker record. So that incentivizes.
So how does that work?
So if you finish bottom of your division, let's say,
yes.
you are more likely to play against other teams that were bottom of their division.
But you're playing against entire divisions at a time.
No. These are just the final 3 games. So I said that they play 6 games against teams within their own division.
Yeah.
4 games against teams from another conference's division. 4 games against teams from their own conference's other division. So it adds up to 14. You play 17 games in the NFL regular season. So those 3 are determined by...
I missed that. So there's an additional 3 games you play against similarly ranked teams from the previous year.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means at the end of the season... And those are always the last 3 games of the season?
No. They're interspersed throughout the season.
Interspersed. Yeah. But it means that strong teams are playing strong teams, which is good presumably commercially.
Yeah, so it's also like
But it also
you actually
prevents
never know.
anyone really getting far away from out in the lead.
Exactly.
because-
So
okay.
you don't really have teams going on these crazy runs. We'll get to this a little bit later, but you don't have teams winning multiple Super Bowls in a row.
Okay. Okay, so just as a let's say as a point, I don't know how it worked, right? But a couple of years ago, the Chiefs and the Eagles were in a Super Bowl together,
Yes.
which means presumably they're in different conferences.
Yes.
Because it's one team from each conference that makes it
Exactly.
to the final. But I know that in that season they had already played like they played a league game.
Yes.
So that could have been such that the Chiefs were drawn against the Eagles pool.
Yeah.
Or that was one of the similar record strong team matchups from the previous season.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, this other thing I think a lot of people will be aware of from this like equality principle of sort of good teams get a little bit tougher than weaker team is obviously the draft, where the bottom teams get
The first
draft picks in the following year's draft, which is the system whereby college players become professionals, obviously.
Okay.
So yeah, and then basically at the end of the season, you've got the standings within, so the divisions and the conferences. The winner of each division goes through. And then within the conference, the 3 teams with the best record after those 4 divisional winners go through. So there was a situation this year where the team in 8th actually had a better record than one of the divisional winners,
Right.
because that division was just relatively weak. Like they had about a 50% winning record. It was slightly higher, but close to 50%. But because they were division winner, they went through to it's called the wild card round, the sort of first round of playoffs. So there's 7 teams that go through to this wild card round. So the top rated team in each conference gets a bye, and the other 6 obviously play each other. And then we have, I think it's called the divisional round after that. And then it's obviously the conference final. So that is the decide of who wins the AFC and the NFC.
So where are the 6 teams coming from?
So the top 7 minus the first one. So the first one gets a bye straight into...
Only the top team.
Only the top
I
team.
thought you meant the top team in each division gets a bye.
No.
So only the top ranked team from a division
Yes.
with the best winning record.
Yes,
They get a
in
bye.
that conference, yeah.
In that conference, they get a bye. And then the remaining 6 teams from that conference go into playoff. As 6 goes into 3. So then you
plus
have
1.
Plus 1 is 4. So
4.
that's your like semi-finals
Yes,
of
within the conference. And then it's the final of the conference. I think it's called the conference round. And then the Super Bowl. So the winner of the 2 conferences.
okay.
And there's a week between each of those games, but then there's a 2-week break before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So yeah, I think...
Just going back onto the equality thing, I don't know, it popped up the other day, but I saw something how there's only 4 teams in the NFL at the moment who've never participated in a Super Bowl, Super Bowl, right? So it's clearly that this equality system does, for the most part, give teams an opportunity to be competitive.
No, it does.
And there's only 4 teams who've never made a Super Bowl before. I mean, you think about that in a rugby perspective. That's, let's say, the old format where there's 20 teams in a Rugby World Cup. For there to only be
4 champions
4 teams. Yeah, there's only been 4 champions ever.
And there have only been 5 teams who played finals.
Right. So, I mean, that's wildly different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we move on to something that maybe the less sporty people in our audience, which might not be many listening to a sports podcast, will know the most about the NFL, is the adverts.
The adverts. I would have said halftime show. I thought that's where we were going.
Well, we'll follow. Pretty much, I kind of view them as one and the same, I guess.
Okay.
So the Super Bowl, they say, is the only day of the year where people look forward to the adverts. Because often they sort of like the new adverts, teams or sort of companies will put a lot of money, a lot of sort of like creative resources into creating a great Super Bowl advert, because it is, it's the most eyeballs on it, the most expensive, the biggest sort of investment you're going to make in your marketing budget of the year, probably. Mm-hmm. And you need to have
certainly the biggest single item.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because everyone else is doing this as well too, it gets competitive, and there are big resources put into it, lots of celebrities. So I've heard about a few adverts sort of that I know are going out to the Super Bowl that they all have like a big celebrity sort of linked to them. So Kendall Jenner, Andy Samberg, Thor.
Chris Hemsworth?
I think it's Liam Hemsworth.
Liam?
One of the
A.
Hemsworth brothers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're all kind of big names and just in ads for companies.
Okay.
And yeah, so a 30-second ad at the Super Bowl costs, I think, between $6 and $8 million.
Well, with every cent.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so they say ads, they're reviewed, they're ranked. You can vote for like the best Super Bowl ad at the end of the.
Okay, so this is genuinely, it's become almost part of the entertainment.
Yeah.
Part of the event. And
Yeah.
it's not seen to be, okay, let's quickly now run off to the bathroom because it's adverts.
I think some people would go to the bathroom during the match so that they could watch the adverts.
Right, okay. But I mean, is it the adverts are playing during the match?
So throughout the match and then also
obviously
at
between
halftime.
quarters and stuff.
Between quarters, at halftime before the halftime show.
Okay, is that the premium slot?
Yes, I
around
think
the
so.
halftime show. Okay.
And yeah, so there's been a little bit of a shift in recent years where brands are kind of releasing the ads before the game so that actually people, I don't know, have a bit of familiarity. They can say like, oh, like I know that ad, or and it's kind of more of a part of their strategy than just focusing on one ad for the Super Bowl. Yeah. And then
I guess also if you release a great ad and some people, some of your audience have seen it before and then they're sitting with a group of friends and it comes on,
You'll
be like, hey, this is a good one.
Yeah.
And that's going to get you presumably
More
more
eyeballs,
more focused eyeballs.
Yeah,
it's going to leave more of an impression.
Yeah.
Than if you just watch it once and at the end you're like, good ad.
Anyway, so now was your much awaited halftime show.
Okay.
So do you know who's performing at this?
I thought we were taking it, but I thought you were going to perform for me.
Oh, no.
I do know it's Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny and Green Day.
And Green Day.
Yep.
Okay. Is it? Do they normally are they doing a joint act or?
I don't know.
It's a strange duo.
It is a strange
If
duo.
they're playing together.
They'll collaborate on one of the songs.
Yeah. I saw Bad Bunny just won the Grammy for the best album.
Yep, I did see that.
First ever fully Spanish album to win Album of the Year.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I can't say I know too much about him. I know he's Puerto Rican, which is
He used to be well behaved. No longer.
yeah, he is
Now he's Bad Bunny.
no longer a good bunny.
Yeah. He got fired from Easter.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
I'm sure the chicken's relieved. The Easter chicken. Anyway, so initially the Super Bowl sort of halftime show was just like marching bands and kind of, I don't know, maybe what you would expect from like 1960s America.
Yeah. Well, I would guess that would probably come out of the college scene.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, because that's typical.
Yeah, and then kind of it was, they realized that, so other networks started putting a lot of their premium entertainment at halftime of the Super Bowl to get people to switch over, basically. So the Super Bowl realized that, well, whoever the main broadcasters of the Super Bowl realized that and decided to have the Super Bowl in a attempt to keep eyeballs on the game, so that also the ads were worth more.
Okay.
So that's over the years has kind of developed to the extent where, again, it's one of the main attractions of the day is this halftime show. And also, so what is interesting as well, you are not paid. The performer's not paid to perform at the halftime show. It is the exposure is
Just
seen
considered
as the
to
payment.
be but I think it is widely, it's considered to be not an honor, but a recognition of your
absolutely.
of your status and talent.
Yeah.
If you're being asked to do it, right?
Yes, and typically it will sort of line up with when someone's got a very popular tour on, let's say, or an album's just been released.
Yeah.
And so it is.
So it's good marketing for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So yeah, I think there are a few famous kind of moments that stand out in the halftime show history. Again, I'm not very well versed in this, but people often like refer to the Super Bowls as, I think they often remember it as the one with this person at the halftime show. So Kendrick Lamar recently, and then
Michael Jackson was a famous one.
Michael Jackson was a famous one. Justin Timberlake was a very famous one, and Janet Jackson.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of a wardrobe malfunction?
I am familiar.
That was from a Super Bowl halftime show.
All right. Okay.
That is where the
Some
the
exposure
phrase was born.
of sorts.
Exactly. So yeah, that was the interesting thing for me is that the performers aren't paid, but it is worth it for them. Anyway,
I mean, when you think about the advertising space, people are paying so much to have that space, and to flip the equation entirely to pay a performer to do it is quite a big stretch, and you'll obviously find people who would be willing to do it for free. So that probably comes if you're gonna have to. If some band is saying, "Oh, you pay me $1 million to do this," there's other bands or performers who'll be like, "No, I'll do that for free."
Yeah, well, if
and then why would you have to pay someone ever to do it? Because then it just it grows and grows and grows.
If you've got people paying $6, $7, $8 million for a slot, for a 30-second slot, you've got a 20-minute slot to that's essentially free advertising for your album, your streams, etc. Anyway, so I've got a little bit of a quiz here for you, just to see
if I've been paying attention, or is this?
No, this is all. It's all new stuff.
Okay.
Well, stuff you might be aware of, but it's not something I've ever gone over. So, what is the most number of Super Bowls ever won consecutively?
I'll say 4.
It is fewer than that.
2?
It is 2. Nobody has ever won 3 in a row.
I know the Chiefs had an attempt at the three-peat. Yeah. Was it last year?
I think it must have been last year. Yeah.
Last year when they played the Eagles and lost.
They definitely lost the Eagles last.
Yeah. The Packers won the first 2.
Packers won the first 2. The Patriots won 2 in a row as well.
No one. Oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense why it was such a big deal that they were going for the three-peat.
Yeah.
No one's ever done it.
No one's ever done it.
Okay, so it's 2 in a row.
The Steelers did it in I think like the 80s and 90s. I think they did it twice in one decade, actually.
Okay.
And I think the Dallas Cowboys did it at one stage, and the Broncos did it in the 90s. So, yeah, it is... It's very interesting how competitive it is that no one's ever won 3 in a row.
Yeah, sure.
Number 2 is which team has won the most Super Bowls, and how many is it?
I think... I think it's the Patriots, and is it the Steelers?
Yep, bang on.
And they've won 6.
Yeah, you've been watching your Super Bowl preparation materials.
Boom. I know Brady had won 6.
And then the next question is who has won the most Super Bowls as a player?
Tom Brady.
And how many?
6.
7.
He won one after he moved from the Patriots, right?
To Tampa Bay, I think.
Tampa Bay.
Buccaneers, yeah.
Okay.
So I'd say that's quite rare that a player has won more than any team.
Sure, yeah. It also... It goes to show that the Patriots had such a period of dominance.
Mostly, it's the only time they've won a Super Bowl was with Tom Brady.
I mean, they've existed for 60-odd years, and they only won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
That might change.
It might change on Sunday.
Their first post-Brady era Super Bowl is potentially on the way.
And then finally, a little bit of a love-in on Tom Brady here, but a lot of Super Bowl records are Brady-centric. The biggest ever deficit overturned in a Super Bowl game.
What would be impressive? 30 points seems too much. Let's say 26 points.
It is 25, I think. 28. It was 28-3.
28-3.
To 34-28. 28 all at full time, and then overtime
And I presume you're saying this is some Tom Brady loving. This is another Tom Brady exploit?
It was another Tom Brady exploit.
That's pretty damaging to lose from.
It is, yeah. And I think it was 21-3 at halftime. Mm-hmm. And then kind of the coach said, like, that's fine, like 21 points isn't enough to beat us. And then they conceded like in the first minute of the third quarter, and 28 points probably is enough to beat us. But no, they came back incredibly. I think this was a case where they had those 2-point conversions.
Yeah.
So they used their last 2 touchdowns. They had 2-point conversions. So scored 16 points in the last quarter, I think, at least.
And the other team didn't score again. So what did they win? 29-28 or something?
No, 34-28. So it was 28 all at full time. They played overtime. Patriots scored a touchdown, and then you don't need to take the conversion because you've already won.
You won. Yeah. I watched a tennis match this week, and there was a player who was 7-1 up in the tiebreak, and he was 6-1 up in the tiebreak, and he thought it was a 7-point tiebreak. And he won the 7th point and started celebrating and whatnot. And then the umpire had to calmly tell him, "No, listen, mate, it's actually a 10-point. It's a 10-point tiebreak. So you have to carry on playing here." So he rallied himself, took himself back to the baseline, and the guy he was playing against proceeded to reel him in
Reel him back
very
in.
quickly. I think he got it to, it was 7-1, obviously, at that point,
Yeah.
and I think he got it back to 8-8.
Okay.
And then you needed to win by 2,
Yeah.
so they got up to 10s, 11s, 12s, and then I think the guy ended up winning 14-12 or something like
Okay.
that. So quite a turnaround from being 7-1 up and thinking you've won the tiebreak to then losing it. And I think
Yeah.
in the moment, if you don't celebrate and like switch off, you probably win 3. You find
Exactly.
a way to win
Yeah,
3
yeah,
more
yeah.
points. But he was horrendous after this whole
that.
thing, and then it was absolutely brutal at the end of the match. The guy who was 6-7 points down, as he hit the winning point, he just goes like this. Like, grabbing his throat, like choking gesture to the guy because he had lost from 7-1 up, which I think is pretty brutal.
Yeah, it always stuff like that always reminds me of Bafana of the South African national football team in qualifying for the African Cup of Nations in about 2012 or so, thinking that they'd qualified with a draw and playing the ball around the back like very defensively and celebrating, and then being told no, the tiebreak actually isn't goal difference; it's results between the two teams, and you haven't qualified. Yeah.
I think it was more
Dark
recent.
day.
I think that was more recent than 2012. I think that was
Maybe.
like 2018 or something.
Okay,
Like, I recall that.
yeah,
Fairly recently.
it's sometime in the 2010s. I'm fairly
Okay.
certain. Though.
Yeah. Okay, let's Super Bowling
Super
again.
Bowl,
Sorry.
Super Bowling again. Not too much longer left, but just like a bit of a comparison between the first Super Bowl and the more recent Super Bowls. So the first Super Bowl ever, tickets were apparently as low as $6,
Oh, I've seen this. This is disgusting.
which is about $50 today, adjusted for inflation. So
Okay.
it's not bad. But today, the cheapest tickets that are available are about $1,000.
I saw different. I saw $6,600.
Yeah.
The cheapest ticket for the
Okay.
Super Bowl. I saw similar things for a Springbok rugby game, which
Yeah.
was just patently wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know really, but
But I mean, they go up to the tickets available for $57,000.
that is outrageous.
But I think that's through secondary selling websites, which obviously
Okay, and they're fleecing people.
not great. And then, yeah, attendances today can be really high. Obviously, it depends on the stadium. Interestingly, there have only been 2 Super Bowls with lower attendances than the first Super Bowl, and they were in 2020 and 2023. So 2020 obviously was the COVID year.
Yeah,
So
makes sense. Was there
there was a Super Bowl, and it was about 20-odd thousand, but I think obviously that was probably
every
a quarter
second
or,
seat or whatever,
exactly,
yeah.
or a third of the stadium. And then 2023, I don't know why it was so low. It was 61,000. It was like 300 lower than the first Super Bowl, 61,600.
might just have been a small stadium,
think
but that
it
is
might have been.
that is a pretty small stadium by American standards.
It is.
Where was it hosted?
It
do you
was
know?
in Nevada, in LA, Las Vegas, not LA.
Okay. You would think they'd have a. Isn't that the Hard Rock Stadium?
It is.
Or is that?
It's called Allegiant Stadium. Maybe it's been under different sponsorship.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking. I know they race
Hard Rock
around
Stadium's
Hard Rock, that's
Miami, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. I know there's an F1 race around it, and it was one of the American races. Okay.
Sorry, I made a mistake there. 2020 wasn't the Super because obviously in February there was pre-COVID. It was the 2021 Super Bowl was the COVID,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and that was the one with the lowest. 2020 was at Hard Rock Stadium, 62,000.
Okay. And I guess something to mention is that these games are at predetermined venues at the
Yes.
beginning of the season, right? It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's not. No team has the advantage of playing at home.
Yeah,
unless you luck into
Unless
it.
you luck into it. So a little bit like the Champions League. There's not there's no home advantage for one of the teams. Unless obviously it happens like that. There's a little bit of, I guess there's maybe a little bit of motivation to make sure that you are sort of able to,
Competitive.
competitive if you're hosting a Super Bowl. But actually, no one had ever played in a home Super Bowl until 2021, I think was the first one.
Okay.
So Tampa and the LA Rams hosted and won back-to-back Super Bowls, and it was the first time anyone had ever hosted a Super Bowl.
It's a little bit suspicious that that first team was it was their first win in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And they were hosting it at home.
They were quite a new team, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you would be inclined to think potentially that they had tampered with the situation
Well, I mean, with Tom Brady's reputation
for silliness.
for silliness, yeah, for
He had
deflating
that
things.
the deflate gate.
Yeah. Yeah, and then another thing to say that like I find actually quite interesting, the player winnings and bonuses are pretty similar once adjusted for inflation to what they were in the first game.
Oh, really?
So the money is there, and I think they probably made a loss on the first one for obviously you trying to like make it more
Lucrative.
more prestigious, etc. So maybe you make a little bit of a loss on the first one, but adjusted for inflation, about $117,000 per player on the winning team
Just for winning.
and about half that for the losers. And then today's 171,000 for the winners and 103,000 for the losers. So it's not.
Oh, but I mean that inflation adjusted, is that not less?
No, it's more. No, sorry, I'm saying 117 was the inflation
I was
adjusted
going
figure.
to say that's enormous money. But
It was $15,000.
oh, okay. So it maybe increased by 50% odd.
Yeah.
More for the losers.
Yeah.
But okay.
Um,
It's interesting. I saw somewhere the other day. I don't know where. I think just the algorithms are spitting out NFL stuff in anticipation of the Super Bowl. But I think the Super Bowl is the second most watched club sports event in the world.
okay. And that is after the Champions League final?
Champions League final.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so we're going to get on to the TV viewers now, I suppose.
Okay.
It was about 50 million in the first one. It's now about 127 million. And that is I think that is just locally, just in the US. And then there's probably another couple of million worldwide.
That actually is lower than I would have expected.
I also thought
mean,
more than
the
I thought
US
half
has
of people would
350
watch.
million people, right?
Yeah. I thought half of people would watch,
Right.
at least. But no.
But again, like, how do they measure it? How do they know how many people are sitting behind a TV screen?
So they've got, I don't know, they're like TV rating companies who basically...
They have a way to...
Their job, yeah.
Okay, to guesstimate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it's obviously...
They're not counting screens there. They are counting people watching the screens.
Yes, I think it's done on like a sampling basis, like choosing a representative sample of people and saying how many of them watched it.
Okay.
And then the commercial costs, the cost for an advert for a 30-second slot is really where the inflation has come in. So, well, I say inflation's come in. The increase in prices has come in. Again, inflation adjusted, it was $300,000 at the first one. Now $7 to $8 million.
Cheapers. That's particularly for a 30-second advert.
Yeah.
The most impressive thing about that price tag now is that over the course of this podcast, it's changed from $6 to $8 million to $7 to $8 million.
That is, well, I did say 6, 7, 8. And then, sorry, one final thing.
You weren't wrong the first time. It was still 6 to 8.
Yeah. We have said 6, 7 a lot in this podcast, very unintentionally.
Joe, stop this nonsense. Stop this nonsense.
I've noticed it a few times, so just to apologize, it definitely wasn't intentional.
Resisting the urge to do foolish hand gestures.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that wraps up our Super Bowl coverage. We're not going to focus. Obviously, the match is the Patriots versus the Seahawks. It's on late Sunday night for everyone in a sort of GMT close time zone. Early Monday morning.
We don't know enough about football to know who's going to win.
No. I think it's relatively close.
Have the Seahawks won before?
The Seahawks have won before. And sorry, another thing to mention is the Seahawks beat the Rams in the Conference League, that they would have been hosting the Super Bowl.
The Rams would have. So
Yes.
the finals in LA.
It's close to LA. It's in like Santa Clarita or something like that.
Okay. Okay, so they were potentially denied a home final.
Yeah. Or close to home final.
Close to home final.
And then one other thing to mention is the Super Bowl is always branded with Roman numerals. So this is Super Bowl LX, obviously 55. And the other quiz question I had for you is there's one exception to that, Wes, and what was that?
Super Bowl 50.
Well, Super Bowl 50, because Super Bowl L
Just
did not
looks-
have a great ring to it.
No. Bit of a loser mentality, that would be.
Sorry, I am wrong. The final, it is in California. It's not LA, it's San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
The San Francisco area. So the Rams wouldn't have had a home final. It would have been a semi-home final.
Okay. Not as opposed to a home semi-final.
Yes.
Okay. That's cool. So it's happening Sunday evening?
Yeah.
You said late in the
evening,
the GMT slots or the European
11:30 for us in GMT.
And how long do we expect the Super Bowl to actually take with all the adverts and the halftime show?
I think about 4 hours.
Okay.
So I don't think I'm going to be watching it.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
big bowl of popcorn.
Yeah. Maybe wake up early and watch the highlights before work on Monday because I'm not going to be up till 3:30.
Fair enough. Okay, great. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Wes. And yeah, I hope everyone a little bit more idea maybe on what the Super Bowl is, why it's important. And
Enjoy the show.
yeah, exactly. Cheers.
Cheers.